year. Our forefathers put it together for us, and we're all fortunate to be here today to celebrate. And we thank all of you. Marge and I have a great time doing it. We've been privileged to do this for the last 12 years. And so thank you all for coming so early in the morning. You know, I was mentioning earlier, the first year we did it, everybody got here at 10 minutes to 8. And then I noticed one day somebody was walking in at 7:15. I said, that's a little early. Well, this morning it was 6:45. So I'm glad you're all excited about being here. We have lots of people participating and helping and doing all of this with us today. And so we're going to start off first with our Boy Scout troop, Troop 443. And they're led by Scoutmaster Jim Dixon and his beautiful wife. You know, she's back there. Okay, Ariel. Ariel is also our water aerobic instructor. That's how we'll have a lot of people from that group as well. So without further ado, troop, please.
They would never throw that up. We still have our banner.
Scouts and audience attention. Color guard attention. Color guard forward march. Color guard halt. Color guard prepare to present the colors. Color guard. Color guard, present the colors. Color guard, prepare to post the colors. Color guard, raise the colors. Audience salute. Color guard salute. Secure the halyards.
intonation of the national anthem will now be sung by Mrs. Melissa Dare.
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad strokes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still and the home of the brave.
If that doesn't get you going this morning, I don't know what will. Just a couple of notes. The flag we fly today flew on the aircraft carrier Kitty Hawk. My niece was kind enough to bring that and donate it to us. This morning, we have our speaker this morning. Used to be my next door neighbor. I chased him out of the neighborhood. That's why he's big enough for us. But before he left the neighborhood, he became one of our members of our Rotary group. So we're glad to have him in that for some time. His name is Dr. Brown, Dr. Kevin Brown, and he's a delightful guy. Keith Brown. His son is another doctor, so I get confused, doctor. But he's here with his wife Karen. They're both military veterans. They met in the service and were married in the Naval Chapel. So he'll be talking this morning a little bit about his past. But he comes to us, they've been married for 54 years. Both of their children, one as I said, the doctor, the other is a clinical specialist working with the VA in San Diego. Doc had joined the Navy. He wanted to go ahead and be a corpsman. He liked serving humanity, so he did that. And he became a corpsman. He didn't know that was going to put him in the front lines in Vietnam in the 1st Marine Division. I don't know what's wrong here, but anyway. He went ahead and after he got out of the service, he went back to Georgia, got his doctor's degree, and then he was discharged from the service in 1985 with Agent Orange from Vietnam. He's been in the medical profession for 32 years, and he's led medical missions to Ecuador, Peru, Cambodia, Ukraine, Tajikistan, Mexico, Pakistan, and Vietnam, and he's a member of the South Reno Baptist Church. Doc is a good friend. We enjoy him very much. We're so happy you're here. Please give him your attention.
Good morning. Thank you for coming out on this beautiful day. Bill asked me to briefly speak on why I'm proud to be an American. First of all, let me say that I'd like for you to forgive me for my notes, but I'm old. And second of all, if I get too winded, just say sit down. Let me ask you a question. Are you proud to be an American? Yes. In January of this year, a study was published that revealed only 52% of Americans are proud to live in the United States of America, the land of opportunity, the land of the free, and the home of the brave. And let's break that down by generations. 73% of the baby boomers aged 57 to 75, which is most of us, were proud. 54% of the Gen Xers aged 41 to 56 were proud. 36% of millennials ages 25 to 40 were proud. And only 16% of the Gen Zs ages 10 to 24 are proud to be an American. In a Gallup poll done in 2011, 69% of Americans were proud of our country. Now let me ask you another question. Why have we become so pessimistic in just 12 years? Does it have anything to do with our leaders in Washington? I'm not going to go down that road today. Perhaps it's because worldwide, the United States is 7th in literacy, 27th in math, 22nd in science, 49th in life expectancy, 178th in infant mortality. America leads the world in the number of incarcerated citizens per capita. We have the highest overdose rate in the world. We have the 4th highest murder rate in the world. The United States has the highest porn viewership rate of any country in the world. And we have the 7th highest alcoholism rate, and the United States is $33 trillion in debt. That's $46,000 for each and every one of you. So, this doesn't sound too good, but still, in my opinion, through traveling around the world, I can say there's not a better country in the world to live in. America truly is the greatest country in the world for many reasons, and that's why there are thousands and thousands of people from other countries trying to get into America. I'm proud to be an American for 3 main reasons. Number 1, America is the land of opportunity. Bill told you a little bit about my past, but I'll tell you, I was born in 1948 in a poor family in Georgia. Only 2 people on either side of my family had ever graduated from high school. Several had been members of the armed forces. My dad and granddad were both in the United States Navy in World War II, and World War I and World War II respectively. And they spoke with pride about their time in the service, and they instilled that pride in me. We proudly watched movies like The Sands of Iwo Jima with John Wayne, The Hellenbach with Audie Murphy, and the great World War I classic Sergeant York with Gary Cooper, and many, many more. We always watched the Army-Navy game. We always stood for the flag, and I proudly recited the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag every day in school. We proudly sang the national anthem, God Bless America, and America the Beautiful, whenever we were at community events. We grew up being proud to be an American, being proud of that American flag. Then the 1960s came around. The assassination of John F. Kennedy, the Vietnam War, things in America were changing, but I was still proud to be an American. After I graduated from high school in 1966, number 3 in the family, I knew that education was the only way out of our poverty. But my family did not value education, and they would not help me in going to college. I also knew the military could help me through the GI Bill. So I decided to serve my country and get an education at the same time by joining the military. I knew I wanted to do something in the medical field, and I knew that if I got drafted, I'd probably be in infantry in Vietnam. So I did my research and decided the United States Navy had the best medical training for enlisted personnel. So I enlisted in the United States Navy, and I volunteered to be a hospital corpsman. I thought that if I was in the Navy, the closest I'd get to Vietnam was on a ship off the Gulf of Tonkin. But I didn't know, and the recruiter didn't tell me, that the Navy provided the medical support for the Marine Corps. So, in December of 1969, I left my wife and my 6-week-old son for the 1st Marine Division in the Republic of Vietnam, and ended up being assigned to a platoon of Marines north of Da Nang. Semper Fi, brother. I spent 7 months in the bush, sleeping on the ground in the jungle with Charlie 1-1. My last 5 months, I got transferred to the 1st Marine Division Hospital in Da Nang, where I was a surgical technician. I I came home after my 12 months to the day and attended Georgia State University on the GI Bill, but I came home to riots, people spitting on me and calling me a baby killer. I didn't understand why this was happening, because all I did was serve my country when I was asked to help defend the freedoms of the South Vietnamese people, which is indirectly defending the freedoms of what we have in our country. I graduated from Georgia State, went on to medical school on a Navy scholarship. I completed my obstetrics and gynecology residency at the United States Navy Regional Medical Center, and then was medically discharged with a 100% disability because of Agent Orange exposure. That was in 1985, and I was a lieutenant commander in the Navy. So I went from a poor boy in Georgia with no education to a lieutenant commander in the Navy and a medical degree. I think that's pretty good. That's why this is the land of opportunity. It's the land of opportunity. Number two, America is the land of the free. And ladies and gentlemen, this day is all about freedom. The founding of the United States in 1776 was an important inflection point for civilization. No nation so large had ever attempted self-government so ambitiously. Our country's founding principles and documents were drafted by imperfect humans, as all humans are at all times. And this was a catalyst for radical changes that led to immeasurable improvements for billions of people around the world. Some of the radical changes were inventions, and some of these inventions were by Americans. Did you know some of the inventions created by Americans of the light bulb, the telegraph, the telephone, the airplane, the phonograph, the internet, and so many more invented by Americans? And one of the most significant inventions, in my opinion, one of the most significant inventions ever created was by Ruth Wakefield in 1937 in Whitman, Massachusetts. Can anybody tell me what that is? The chocolate chip cookie. Our freedoms start with the Declaration of Independence. This document not only declared our independence from England, but it declared the freedoms that would set the United States of America apart from the rest of the world then and for a multitude of years to come. Our Declaration of Independence was also a declaration of freedom. I've heard a lot of people say, Happy Independence Day. Well, this is also Happy Freedom Day. It's all about freedom. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. Our Constitution lays the foundation for all of America's freedoms today. And American people have a huge number of rights and freedoms. We're so blessed to live in this country. It's all about freedom. While the First Amendment protects the freedoms of speech, religion, press, assembly, and petition, subsequent amendments under the Bill of Rights dealt with the protection of other American values, including the Second Amendment right to bear arms, and the Sixth Amendment, the right to trial by jury. The United States is one country where you can openly express your views without fear of being judged or facing consequences. There are so many countries around the world that have punishments for speaking against the government or their religious beliefs. I think one of the best things about the United States is that you can speak your mind without fear of being jailed or punished for your views. That may be changing from what we've seen in recent history. Of course, there are policies and laws that need to be followed, and the United States is strictly against hate speech. You can openly voice your concerns about political, ethical, or religious matters. Freedom of choice is another reason to be proud to be an American. One of the best things about our country is that we have the freedom to choose to be who we want to be. The United States is one of only a few countries in the world that allow same-sex marriages. There are 64 countries in the world that criminalize homosexuality, and 13 of those countries, homosexuality is punishable by death. Another freedom we have is the freedom of religion.
America allows its citizens to practice the religion of their choice. Our freedom of religion is one that I do not take for granted at all, as I realize that in many countries, people can be thrown in prison for their beliefs if they did not align with that country's beliefs. I have friends who are missionaries in Vietnam, Tajikistan, Pakistan, and if their families were found to be sharing about Jesus, they could be thrown into jail or even worse. Here in the United States, we have just about every type of religious affiliation. And even though I don't agree with all of their belief systems, that's okay. We all have the right to have freedom of religion. I've been taking medical mission teams into what we now call non-industrialized countries. We used to call them third world countries, but that's not politically correct anymore. So they're non-industrialized countries. I've been doing that since 1991. This upcoming December, I'll be taking my 21st team to Cambodia, and in January, I'll be taking my 22nd team to Mexico. Many of these countries that I've been into, if I were caught proselytizing Christianity, we would have been arrested or imprisoned. But here in America, we truly have freedom of religion. This is exactly why America is known as a melting pot of different cultures and beliefs. We openly welcome people from different walks of life, as long as they enter our country legally. People can dress the way they want, talk the way they want, and even promote their culture without hesitation. An amendment to our Constitution that makes me really proud is the 19th Amendment that was added in 1920. It gave women the right to vote, which is a freedom that most people take for granted. You know, we were watching an episode of Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, and the townspeople were about to have a fit because the women wanted to vote. Anyway, 1920, that changed. And we have many more freedoms, most of which are not available in many of the countries around the world. Why do you think there are thousands and thousands of immigrants trying to get into our country, both legally and illegally? But you know what? Our freedoms are not free. And that leads me to number 3. America is the home of the brave. Did you know, as of Memorial Day of this year, according to the Department of Defense, 1,354,644 uniformed men and women have died in U.S. wars. 2,852,901 men and women have been seriously wounded in U.S. wars. And 40,000 men and women remain missing. That's 4,247,575 brave men and women who have sacrificed for our freedoms, for your freedoms. And at this time, I'd like to take a moment, if we'd bow our heads for a moment of silence for all these brave heroes. Thank you. Unfortunately, the desire by our young men and women to serve and protect the freedoms of our country is diminishing. The height of American pride was during and after World War II. At that time, 12% of the U.S. population served in our armed services. Today, less than 1% of our population serves in the armed forces. Currently, the number of active duty personnel in China, who, if you didn't know, is one of our biggest threats. The active duty personnel in China is 2,185,000. In the United States of America, we only have 1,388,000 men and women serving in our great country in our armed forces. So yes, I'm very proud of our troops and how they defend us each and every day, but we need more troops. We need more patriotism, because freedom isn't free. It's the home of the brave, the land of it's the home of the brave and the land of opportunity. We have the greatest country in the world, and if you don't think so, go live in another country that doesn't have our freedoms. That doesn't have a country that doesn't have the greatest health care in the world. A country that doesn't have baseball, hot dogs, and apple pie. I'll leave you with 2 quotes from 2 of the arguably greatest patriotic American presidents. On July 6, 1987, President Ronald Reagan said, "Freedom is never more than 1 generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same, or one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in the United States where men were free. And on Memorial Day of 2020, President Donald Trump said, "The Star-Spangled Banner still proudly waves. For as long as our flag flies in the sky above, the names of these fallen warriors will be woven into its threads. For as long as we have citizens willing to follow their example, to carry on their burden, to continue their legacy, then America's cause will never fail and American freedom will never, ever die." So I hope you've seen the many reasons I'm proud to be an American. Yes, I'm proud that we are resilient people, strong and courageous. I'm blessed to live in a country with so many freedoms that are daily, moment by moment, being protected by the men and women of our armed forces. My priorities in life are God, family, and country. And every day I ask God to bless the USA, for that is our only hope.